Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Unapologetically Different Podcast. I'm your host, Key. This is season 3, episode 78. Please make sure you check out our previous episode, 77 Mama Mentality, where I discuss how the world reacted to Kobe's passing, the media providing false information about his death, Terry Crews speaking out about the Gabrielle Union situation pertaining to AGT, and DeAndre Arnold, the high school senior at a Texas school, being banned from his high school graduation because of his locks. Now let's get into it. This year's Oscars was very interesting, but special shout out to the Here Love team for winning Best Animated Short category. That was by Matthew A. Cherry and Karen Rupert Tolliver. Backstory about Here Love. It's a 7-minute animated short film that centers around a relationship between an African-American father, Stefan, and his daughter, Zuri. It's such a beautiful film, the way it's done from start to finish, and she's so adorable. So in the film, you notice Stefan is used to his wife doing his daughter's hair. His wife was unavailable the night before a big event. He had no choice but to step in and do his daughter's hair. And as a result, there was some conflict because he didn't know what the hell he was doing. As you can see throughout the film, he was really confused and slightly baffled with her hair type. And it's so interesting to see that as a father doing your daughter's hair, especially pertaining to the African-American community. That's a huge deal. It may seem simple, but it requires a lot of work, especially since he's not used to it. Keep in mind, the story was created out of a lack of representation in mainstream animated projects. Also want to promote positive representation about Black hair. And I'm really excited about that because I'm natural under this, and it's transitioning to becoming natural is very difficult. Luckily, over time, mainstream media is becoming more susceptible to it. And also, too, a lot of beauty bloggers are talking about different ways and techniques of styling your natural hair, which is not easy. Some days are better than others. So to see this animated film, especially with this young girl, it's so beautiful to see because it's why representation matters so much. And also, too, it encourages the next generation and girls within that age group to know that your hair is beautiful, be who you are, and love yourself for who you are. Don't feel like you have to change. And also, I like the dynamic between a father and a daughter in the film. I think that's so beautiful. And it reminds me of my dad growing up because he used to do my hair. He didn't do the best styles, but at least he attempted at doing it. In retrospect, I thought it was kind of common in certain households that fathers were doing their daughters' hair, but it's actually not. So to see this film and see how it was brought to life and it was properly executed from start to finish, I felt a little bad that it was only 7 minutes. I was like, I wanted more of it. And I thought it was just so cute how it was done. I think it's really imperative that more of these animated films are done primarily for our Black and brown communities so that it gives young kids the ability to see themselves through these films and also let them know, once again, representation matters. And no matter what they want to be when they grow up, they can do so and that they could be okay in their own skin. And what I loved about it, too, is that she was a dark-skinned girl, which is something that I'm really big on when it comes to melanin. It's important to have these young girls, especially dark-skinned girls with different hair types, if you 4A, B, or C, whatever your hair type is, and to be illustrated through these animated films and in films in general. So special shout out to the Hair Love team. And fun fact, speaking of DeAndre Arnold, they invited him to the Oscars. So, and there's a lot of pictures going around the media, viral pictures going around of all of them together. We actually posted it on our social media site, so make sure you check it out. And I just thought that was a full circle moment, and I loved every minute of it because here you have this Black boy from a Texas high school about to graduate and being told he's banned from graduation because of his locks. And his locks is a part of his identity and who he is. And we spoke about this in a previous episode, so make sure you check it out. I got more details about that. So the fact that they was able to bring him to the Oscars so he can have this moment, I just thought it was amazing. It's like it was his own graduation. I mean, the Oscars is better than graduation. Let's keep it 100. So I was so excited to see that full circle moment. And they actually won the Oscars in light of the Oscars being hashtag so white this year because it was not a lot of representation. I was so happy that they were able to walk away with this award. So special shout out to the Hair Love team and DeAndre Arnold. As I say, continue being who you are and representing the community in a positive way. In the previous episode, I discussed Kobe's passing and how it affected the world and practically stopped the world. Gayle King recently did an interview with Lisa Leslie pertaining to his legacy and also his sexual assault incident dating back from 2003. There was more said throughout the interview, but her network decided to take this short clip and it went viral. And there was a lot of different reactions. At least that was Gayle's perspective on it about the production, her network taking this clip out of all parts of the interview, and she did not necessarily agree with. Now, this clip made rounds through social media. People were very upset about it and reacted very differently. The problem was, whether you agree with her or not pertaining to this clip and the timing of it and how sensitive it was, which to some extent is valid points, people just went off the rail with their commentary. And a lot of it was derived from calling her out her name and also like practically threatening her. And it started with Snoop Dogg. He was highly upset about the clip. Not only did he post on social media pictures of Gayle and Oprah with a picture of Harvey Weinstein talking about why don't they target this person instead of like a Kobe or any other black figures within a community, men more so. He created a video basically threatening her in the clip, saying that you need to stop calling her out her name, calling her the B word, and then telling her that she needs to stop before we come for her. I'm not sure who we is. Is it going to be you, Martha, or your peach cobbler pies? Because the way that he went about saying that, it was just so disrespectful. It's like, you could disagree with her. You can have a different stance about it, but for you to go out your way and for you to say those things and you have a platform, like you have a strong following. As you know, he has a show with Martha Stewart that they do, and he doing other things as well. Like, this is not the time and place for you to be making those kind of commentaries, and it comes off as a threat. And in part, it influenced other people to think, oh, I could threaten her too. She's been getting a lot of death threats to the point that she has to walk around with security. Oprah Winfrey did a brief interview as of recent talking about it and was emotional about how Gayle has to walk around with full security and she's practically in fear of her life. She's not getting much sleep surrounding this issue. Now, as I mentioned before, you may have a different take on how she did the interview because of the timing of it, and that you can respectfully disagree. Last time I checked, we're in a democracy. But for you to call someone out their name and for you to threaten them, that's borderline. That's beyond disrespectful. And at that point, it's like, is it really about you disagreeing with her, or is it just that people are trying to utilize Kobe's legacy as a reason to vilify her? And the problem is that within the Black community, there is a polarizing issue with how people perceive Gayle and Oprah. They think as if they're not doing enough for the community. We're neither here nor there about that. I don't necessarily agree with that commentary, but don't utilize this man's legacy as a reason to vilify her. And to me, just to see the comments, especially a lot of them from Black men and even women too, that were just like attacking her. And I'm just like, is this where we're at as a culture? Is this where we're at as a community? We're literally going to vilify this woman because we disagree, then opposed to just respectfully disagreeing with her. And the way that people are dragging her through the mud, it was just highly disrespectful. And it was really I was really offended just to see these comments and just how people perceive us. You know, as Black women, I feel like it's so hard in this country as it is. And we're the most disrespected across the board. Whether we're outspoken like a Gabrielle Union, we're a problem to be solved. We can't be vulnerable. We can't be outspoken about things. It's like, where do we stand in this culture? And like I said, whether you agreed with her or not, you could have went about it in a different way. And I feel like people are trying to utilize his legacy when that's not what he stood for. And even Eric Dyson, he did a clip on YouTube where he spoke about, he met Kobe and he was like, Kobe would have never wanted for people to target her the way that they're doing now. So when you say you're doing it for his legacy, are you really doing it for his legacy, or you're trying to cover it up for other reasons as to why you're vilifying her? If you have your reasons as to why you dislike her and the part that she plays in the community, then make your valid points. Come with facts. You know, but for you to come out your face and then try to utilize his legacy and then you dragging her, to me, it's just not okay. Also on that Instagram post, he was talking about her targeting Harvey Weinstein. He ended it off by saying free Cosby. I'm like, are you serious? You want us to free Mr. Quaaludes? Like, is this where we're at now? Like, make your point as to why you dislike her, but for you to sit up here and say to free Cosby after the shit that he's done to a lot of women, like, are you serious? Like, that just really irked my nerves, because it was just like, it just feeds into your patriarchy privilege and also you being misogynistic and sexist. And it clearly you didn't do none of your research when it came to Cosby. You just made the assumption people are targeting him, and you feed into that BS conspiracy theory, oh, he was trying to purchase NBC. I was really bothered by his commentaries, and I was really surprised when Snoop Dogg did that video, and I was just like, are you serious about we gonna come for her? And I'm just like, you cannot be serious right now. And apparently I wasn't the only one that was bothered by it, along with other people who was bothered by it. Former National Security Suzanne Rice, she tweeted, "This is despicable. Gayle King is one of the most principled, fair, and tough journalists alive. Snoop, back the fuck off. You come for Gayle King, you will go against an army. You will lose, and it won't end pretty. First of all, she's my new hero. So shout out to Susan Rice. I was loving every minute of that tweet, and I just really appreciate that she came to Gayle King's defense, because it was disheartening for me to see other Black women who condone this type of behavior. I even was going toe-to-toe with one that was just like, yes, the treatment she's receiving is unwarranted, but she cannot play victim to it. She has a right to be in fear of her life. She has a right to be emotional about it. She has a right to feel a certain way about the situation. What do you mean she can't play victim to it? That does not make sense to me. Like I said before, you can disagree with her respectfully. All of that went out the window when y'all decided to call her out her name and drag her through the mud. And to me, that's not okay. Threats are not okay. Calling her a bitch is definitely not okay. And as a Black woman, it makes me question, where do we stand? You know, before you say everybody's against us, but then I'd be like, at least all we have is each other. To see some of the Black women commentaries on this, I'm just like, do we really have each other? Like, where are we in the community? Like, we're borderline divided. And yes, I don't expect us to think the same way and act the same way. But when it comes to things like this, I just think it's common sense. Like, the way that people reacted to it was not okay. And I just feel like people are utilizing his legacy as an excuse, like I said again, just to vilify this woman. If you have your reasons, do that, but don't try to cover it up through his legacy. And in part, I think why this is so hurtful is that we in like the second week of Black History Month, and this is the shit that's going on. We are supposed to be coming together, and I feel like this has created more of a divide in the community. I just want to know, where do we go from here? Everyone's going to have their take about certain situations. And yes, we're still mourning the loss of Kobe, but you can still mourn the loss of Kobe and uphold his legacy and have critiques. But we could still be respectful in certain aspects. And I just feel like that went out the window. And my thing is, how can we kind of bring things back to the center where we're not targeting each other? It's not a divide of who's for who and who's for what. And it becomes a bigger situation. I didn't think this was going to spiral out of control. When I saw the clip and it went, I was like, all right, people are going to disagree. But then when I saw the Oprah interview about her feeling threatened, I was just like, this is where we at now? Is this where we're at now? As a society, as a culture, as a community, we talk about uplifting each other and doing so much for each other, but then it becomes this situation. And it's just really disheartening. I just want to reiterate the fact that we need to unite and not be divided, especially pertaining to this situation. You can disagree about it, but do it in a respectful way. Also, too, we can grieve, we can be passionate, and we could disagree without leading to violence. Snoop has a platform. He's a powerful figure, and I thought it was very problematic for him to come at her the way that he did. Keeping in mind that there's been other things going on in our community where I didn't get that reaction from him coming after people. So the fact that you felt so comfortable coming after her, that is problematic to me as fuck. But we do need to come together as a community and really reevaluate the way that we react to certain things. You can disagree in a respectful manner, and we need to really work on doing that instead of us trying to degrade each other and rip each other apart and bring each other down. And I just want us to kind of reiterate that and kind of keep that in mind as we're in Black History Month. The fact that I've always made points about the younger generation looking up to us, and representation matters. And we just talked about Hair Love and how it's a positive representation of young Black girls. How do you think young Black girls are perceiving these commentaries that you're making about this woman, especially in that light? Because now it's really not about whether you agree with her stance. It's just that you're calling her out her name and calling her everything in the book that society has always done to us. So I just want us to kind of keep that in mind as we continue. And if you want to continue to have conversations or discourses about this topic, just be mindful of things that you're saying, because I feel like people are just getting out of pocket, and it really makes me question, where are we? And I don't want to think that we're divided. We're divided over so many other things, and this is not the way that it should be, and it's not the way that it should be happening or going down during Black History Month at that, or any other month during the year. So just being mindful of that. All right, so now it's time to get into Key's tea. You know you're going to get a little spice when you got Key on the mic. So special shout out to Joaquin Phoenix for his speech at the British Academy Film Awards. He went in. I wasn't even anticipating all of that. And the clip has actually been going viral. So this is a little bit of what he was saying. He was saying that he was feeling conflicted for the award that he won because he noticed the disparity in Hollywood pertaining to how white men are giving these roles, and they have this privilege that they're practically hinging on. And he said that how it's a disparity in Hollywood pertaining to Black and brown people, and how it's not fair that at the sake of them not getting these roles, it actually put white men in better positions. So I really want to give him a shout out in terms of the things that he talked about pertaining to Hollywood, because we've been saying it for a while. I mean, hashtag Oscars so white is viral now. Like, I haven't watched the Oscars in probably a couple years or so, because I'm just like, where is the diversity? Where's the inclusion that we speak of? And I'm glad that he actually took this time to talk about it. I was noticing his body language while he made the speech, and you could tell it was kind of hard for him, but he was keeping it 100. What I did like is when the camera went around the room and took people's facial expressions, because they was just really surprised. You could tell people was thrown off guard by what he said, but I thought that was a perfect time for him to make that commentary and really talk about what's going on in Hollywood, especially to the Oscars now. There hasn't been any women of color directors that were nominated, which is problematic. And there wasn't a lot of nominations for Black and brown people. So it leads you to believe, like, how are we trying to push the culture when you are only giving certain people or certain groups an advantage over others? It becomes a situation of you putting people at a disadvantage, and it's not fair. You know, let's talk about it. And I think more of these conversations need to come up. And I really do like that there are white actors and actresses that are in these positions, and they're utilizing their platform to talk about it. Even Michelle Williams talked about it pertaining to the lack of women being involved in some of these films and even behind the films. You know, Ava DuVernay made it a point for her to hire a lot of women. She only works with women, to my understanding, when it comes to her producing her films. And there's so much diversity going on the back end when you see, I believe there's a picture going viral of her team. And I love that. But it's sad that it takes a woman of color to be in that situation to uplift others, and that should not be the case. It should apply to white actors and white actresses, and I hope that they continue to utilize their platform. So shout out to Joaquin. I really appreciate him for that, and I hope that he continues to utilize his platform to discuss that. And make sure y'all check out The Joker, because I heard it's lit, okay? And that's Keys T. So as you guys know, we have our Unapologetic Art Expo. Super excited on Saturday, February 29th from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. There'll be featured artists, artwork for sale, special guests. So stay tuned for that. Live DJ hors d'oeuvres, darling. And we have drinks, and there'll be so much more going on. So make sure you pull up, get your tickets, go on our website, and all the ticket information will be provided on there. And as we continue to lead up to the date of the event, we're going to roll out more information pertaining to what artist is going to be a part of the show. Once again, we're super excited. Thanks. That's it for today. Bye, everyone. We appreciate every single one of you. Let us know on our Instagram page by leaving a comment on what you guys want to hear about more in our next podcast. See you next time.